Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr, and this is episode 123, and it's part 2 of the Unwanted. And if you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And here we go. Alice thought about Randall. They had met shortly after her longest relationship, which had ended just before marriage. They had what she thought of even during it as an affair. Randall wanted more. She remembered their last date. It was a restaurant they had both enjoyed, well away from the casinos, mostly patronized by locals. It had been around a good long time and served Italian food that, it was whispered, had fed many of the mafiosi of old Reno. Alice had never known the truth of it. Wouldn't the gangsters have mostly stayed around the nascent casino strip? But it had a certain authenticity and mystery. And who knows, it may even have been true. Randall had berated their server, something Alice, who had waited her share of tables during college, couldn't stomach. Right then and there, their relationship, which she never thought of as more than temporary, was finished. She put some money on the table. The meal had just arrived. "It's been interesting, Randall," she said. "What? No. Sit down. Sit the fuck down," he had yelled. She'd looked at him. "No, we're done," she had said. Randall looked around. Everyone in the restaurant was looking at them. "Hey, I'm sorry. You just caught me off guard. I'd like to talk this out." "There's really nothing to talk about. We had a fun time. You treat people badly, I'm done." He'd looked at her, shocked. She had just left. Of course, that had not been the end of it. You could even say it was just the beginning. The calls, the showing up at her door, she had, in fact, taken a restraining order out on him. She had not dated for a while, partly because she realized she wasn't still over her real ex, and partly because she didn't want Randall complicating things. Then there was Dan. They met at the grocery store. Dan, who was an introvert, had plucked up the courage to say hi anyway. They went out on an exploratory date, which quickly became love. She had told Dan about Randall as soon as it became serious between them. Dan wasn't exactly scrawny, but he wasn't big. Randall was tall and wide. He didn't have a great face, and it had taken Alice a long time to figure out why. Because his features were all normal. His nose was fine. His jawline was good. It was because he was scowling all the time. Of course, he hadn't scowled much on their early dates. He'd been cleverer than that, but soon enough he had started in on her. It was shortly after his turn, really only a month or so into their fling, that she had had her moment in the restaurant and broke it off. Some flings, she thought, looking blankly at her computer screen, just weren't worth it. On some level, Russell was dangerous. But worse than that was the thought that maybe, just maybe, he might drive a wedge between Dan and herself. Not because she liked Randall, or that Dan might think she liked Randall, but just because of the hassle Randall might make for them. She wondered if she could determine if Randall had moved to Ohio or was just visiting. If he was visiting, they could weather the storm. If he'd moved, it could get ugly. She tried to remember what he had told her about himself. It was his favorite topic, and he went on and on about his exercise regimen and his healthy lifestyle and the money he made, and on and on. But she couldn't remember him talking much about his family. Did he have any roots in Ohio? She looked him up on Google. Randall Talloway was not a common name. There were some entries, all of which related to the Randall she knew. Apparently he was the only person with that name. But all the entries seemed specific to Nevada, or not specific to a location at all. Nothing about Ohio. She breathed a bit easier. Of course, if he had just moved, and frankly, if he had, then coming to harass her would probably be the first thing he did, then he might just not show up on Google yet. Egotist though he wasn't the sort to blog, so she had nothing to check on there. She sat back. Could this problem just blow over on its own? The answer came soon enough. Her phone was called by someone with an Ohio phone number. It otherwise didn't have a name to go with it. She ignored it. But the same number called again, and then again. These were not the actions of a robocaller, Alice realized. She had changed her phone number when they moved, specifically so that Randall wouldn't have her new number. It called again. She decided to pick it up. Hello? Found you, the voice said. Randall, Alice said. She didn't mean to, but it came out as a whisper. Whatever he was about to say, she hung up immediately and blocked the number. She knew that he would buy another cheap phone soon enough and call her again. She would simply have to either change her number again, or, if it kept up, or for the time being, she would simply not answer any phone number she didn't recognize and let her family and friends know that would be her policy. The siege mentality would have to resume. The worst part was, now Dan would have to be involved in it too. Shit, she said to no one. She went downstairs and hugged Dan for a long time. And that's the end of the episode for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thank you for listening. Words and music, copyright 2019, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.